Back to you.
You're in a good place now. You are listening to Perspectives with Ashley Burgess.
Welcome back live to Live Your True Life Perspectives, and I'm your host, Ashley Burgess. On today's show, we're going to be talking about the psychological games that people play. We're going to be talking about actually 4 specific games and tactics that folks use. And why are we going to talk about this today? We're going to talk about it because we need this information to be able to safeguard ourselves, to have the information to know how to rock and roll with it, to be able to know when it's happening, to see it coming a mile away, and to be able to ultimately save ourselves. You know, I found that as we go through life, a lot of times when someone's close to us, whether it's a spouse, sister, brother, good friend, mother, father, aunt, uncle, cousin, whatever, anybody that's close to you, a lot of times things happen and it's almost like it goes under the radar because we're not expecting it. We don't understand it. We don't know where it's coming from. We don't really understand the basis for what's happening. And we don't even understand what's really actually taking place. A lot of times that can be because we're so used to it. We've been around it so long. We're so used to it. Other times it can be, obviously it seems to be a blindsided. We're blindsided by it. Oftentimes we may seem to always feel like we're on the defensive. We may feel like other people are ganging up on us. Sometimes we can deal with situations from our past and continue to deal with it throughout our lives. Perhaps we were raised in a certain family dynamic and certain manipulative tactics were used then, but we didn't know what they were because we were young. We had no idea. You didn't have this entire strategic book next to you that said, okay, wow, this right here, this is gaslighting. And by the way, this is full on manipulation. And by the way, this is XYZ. Nope, didn't have it. Could use it, would have been helpful. I know that many of us have probably made some poor life choices going through the situation after overcoming toxic families and toxic dynamics and then coming out the other side and living to tell the tale. Some folks not so lucky. And so today's show is dedicated to anybody that, has felt at one time anxiety, maybe sadness, felt overwhelmed, didn't know how to respond, felt like they were walking on eggshells, felt as if they were reliving their guilt or shame, feeling as though they're not good enough. All this stuff is dedicated to anybody with this show because this show is really about expanding our thought processes, really thinking about things, seeing things for exactly how they are so we can safeguard ourselves, understand, and be able to live our life better, living our true life, right? We can only live our true life when we actually know the truth, when we're walking through it. The difference between that and our best life is the best is all we know, right? But once we begin to know the truth and we become more and more wise, we're able to live that truth. We're able to live in our truth and understand our truth because we have the knowledge and power to do that. Before I go any farther, this show is dedicated to Fred Weinberg. We lost Fred a few days ago, and for everybody here at US80 Radio Networks, we miss him. And I was hoping that I was going to be able to have dinner with him. We had a lot of issues with COVID and, Fred wasn't living in the state that I'm living in, so it was tough, but he will be missed. He was a total wild man, firecracker, everything you can think of, and Fred's going to be missed. He's loved by many, and we're going to miss him at USA. So anyway, Fred, this show is dedicated to you, and just wish we could have grabbed that dinner. So let's start on the psychological games that people play. Let's talk about this because this is interesting. This is at the forefront of many people's lives. And it's not just happening in your family. It's not just happening in your marriage. It's not just happening in your so-called friendships. It's also happening at work. It's happening in work. It's happening with your boss. It's happening with your coworkers. This is something big here. Okay, so if you're like, I don't have any relationship issues, well, start turning your gaze on your work. Maybe there was some crazy ultimatum, some entitlement, some stuff that came up at work recently. Started feeling bad, started walking on eggshells, don't know how to respond. So the first psychological game that I want to bring up today, I want to bring this up to start with because I think it's something that's very important, and it's a phrase that I've coined several years ago. I coined it, and I've never heard anybody else use it, and so I'm sure people will use it after they hear it on multiple videos of mine from the last few years on YouTube and probably on the show, but let's go with it. I coined the concept of forever ammunition. It's different from ammunition because forever ammunition means you've done one thing bad one time, you screwed up one time, you made a bad mistake, and guess what? Guess what? You're going to live it for the rest of your life. Like literally, you do one thing wrong, and we're going to talk about it forever. We're going to bring it up all the time. We're going to bring it up when there's an argument. We're going to bring it up when you're arguing. Somebody's going to bring it up to get their way. Okay? Bring up the past to make you feel bad. And some of the stuff that they bring up from the past, happened 25 years ago. You might not even remember the facts around it. You might not even remember much about it. It's interesting because I've had clients tell me, my wife or my husband or my ex-wife or my ex-husband or my mother or father brings up this thing that I did, 25 years ago. I talked to this woman one time when we were on a trip. I talked to this woman at the bar for 5 minutes and I can't live it down, She tells me about how I was going to go sleep with her or how I should have had a relationship or I should have married that woman. It was a 5-minute conversation at a bar in a hotel. This is the type of forever ammunition I'm talking about. Perhaps you were in a relationship prior to the current relationship you're in, and you were telling the person that you're in the relationship with you're in about maybe calling an ex during the relationship and how you thought about getting back together. And so they might use forever ammunition on you on something that you did before they even entered the picture. Oh, well, I remember when you were telling me about you were with so-and-so and you were secretly calling your ex all the time, thinking about getting back with them. Are you going to do that now? Are you going to cheat now? Are you going to cheat like your father used to cheat? You're going to cheat like your mother used to cheat? You cheater. Think about it. This forever ammunition is wild. This forever ammunition is wild. And it's used and it's abused. It's used to make you feel like a bad person, right? It's a setup. So what happens here is forever ammunition comes out when you are trying to express your feelings or you disagree with what someone's doing and you're not going to acquiesce. Oftentimes it can come up and you're like, well, I don't really agree with that. Or, hey, what about this? And they'll be like, what about that? What about that situation when we were in Puerto Rico that time and you were talking to that woman in the hotel lobby? What, were you trying to have sex with her? Oh, I remember that. And you're like, I don't even remember the woman at this point in time. I don't even remember who the heck I was talking to. That's the forever ammunition. And what happens here is that the conversation pivots, right? It pivots from the actual situation that was being talked about something you weren't happy with that was going on in the household, to this woman in Puerto Rico that you don't even know, never met, talked to briefly in a hotel lobby before y'all got on a bus to do some sort of tour. And that was a horrible day, too, in and of its own, because you remember being yelled at for several hours over something that didn't happen. And, it's interesting because this forever ammunition gets dragged out day after day. It's like opening up a drawer of stuff that doesn't fit anymore and throwing it in someone's face. To get them off target and to make them feel bad. What else does this forever ammunition do to us? It makes us feel guilty. It makes us feel shame because sometimes maybe there was something that we did. Maybe you did step out of a relationship. Maybe you did try drugs, or maybe there was an alcoholic problem, or maybe there was something that you actually feel some shame about that you had to overcome. And that's the worst of forever ammunition, is when somebody throws something in your face that makes you feel shame. Because shame is a low vibrational feeling, right? Shame, it sucks. It's gross. We don't want to feel shame. But, when you're dealing with shame and somebody's playing that game with you and they're making you feel bad, they get you off target. They stop the conversation in its tracks. All of a sudden, you're over there feeling shame and guilt, and you're talking about how that was in the past. I don't want to talk about it. I've been sober for 25 years. I don't want to talk about this. But it's brought up to bring you down. It's brought up to cut you down to size. It's brought up to make you feel guilt and shame, and it's brought up to control you. Right? It's interesting. It's like, I mean, the funny thing is, it's almost like when you're like growing up and you have friends and you're talking something and you have something profound to say and you say this really profound thing and the other person says, I remember when you peed in my bed on the spend the night party when we were all 6 years old. It really takes you down to size. Okay? But this stuff's awful because what happens with this forever ammunition is it's constantly used. It is a tactic that's used to control the situation. So the next time that this forever ammunition is used on you, I want you to realize it. You don't have to do anything about it. I just want you to catch the fact that it is. I want you to define it. I'm giving you a terminology. I'm giving you an understanding of what it means. And then from now on out, instead of going, God, I wonder why this always happens, go, oh, here it is. Here she is using that forever ammunition again. Here he is doing that again. I get it. I see it. I see the tactic. I see it. Now, you don't have to sit there and call it out and be like, I see that you're using forever ammunition. Now, don't give him that. Don't give him that power. Just know it. Put it in there. Realize it. And that's going to really help you to understand. And you're going to be able to realize the next time that they use it on you. And then you got to work at not falling trap into it. Right? You don't have to sit there and defend yourself for the 15th time about how you weren't trying to get with the woman in the lobby. You don't have to defend yourself for the 10th time about how you are sober now and you've been sober for 15 years. This is stuff that we don't have to defend ourselves. It just is a waste of time. But see, it's a control and a manipulation because if I have you defending yourself, then what you were going to talk to me about, it doesn't matter anymore because you're going to forget that because I have you on the defensive. Very interesting technique, isn't it? I think it is. So later on in the hour, I'm going to be talking about some other stuff, some other psychological games that people play. We're going to start talking about this. We're going to get it out there. We're going to put the information out there so you know what you're dealing with, so there is no more questions. So when I return, I'll just give you a niblet. We're going to be talking more. We're going to switch gears, and we're going to talk about the silent treatment. Okay, what the silent treatment is, why it's used, what it does, who uses it. I mean, all this stuff. So we're going to have all that information to you. So we're going to have a little bit of fun. We're going to go through the silent treatment stuff and discuss it. In the meantime, I just want you to start thinking. I want you to really open up your mind and catch this. Is it happening to me at work? Is it happening to me with my boss? Is it happening to me with a friend of mine? Is it happening to me with a spouse? Is this happening to me with a family member? Questions. Think about it. Open your mind. As we do this, it's going to help you to not only understand what's going on, but we can also be able to understand the control that someone's trying to present in our life. Stay tuned. Live your true life perspectives with your host, me, Ashley Burtis, will be back in. I'll be back this time in 2 shakes.
I hope you've enjoyed my history and lore tales here on Ashley's True Life Show. I know that there are many more amazing stories in your own family that we can discover in your tree. Hi, I'm Dan from Ancestors Genealogy. We take the hard part of discovering your family's past away from you by doing all of the research. You and your family end up with a beautifully bound heirloom book to view and enjoy. As a longtime genealogist, my staff and I know precisely where to look. We know what to look for and to preserve your story. So consultations with me are always free. Create your family heirloom book for Mother's Day, Father's Day, or next Christmas by talking with me, Dan, at Ancestors Genealogy. So please reach out today by going to our website, www.dancestorsgenealogy.com. That's DANCESTORS, genealogy.com, and fill out a contact request, and we'll get right back to you.
Money, 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 money. You gotta have it. When you need it, what do? If you don't have a rich uncle, call Lending Tree. With us, hundreds of banks compete for your business, so you'll get loans with competitive interest rates, and in some cases, with no closing costs. So here's the deal. If you need money, call us. Do you want to refinance your current loan? Are you 62 or older and interested in a reverse mortgage? Then call Lending Tree now. 800-634-1315. 800-634-1315. We've closed over $250 billion in loans. We know what we're doing and can help you. Call right now for a free quote. 800-634-1315. 800-634-1315. 800-634-1315. That's 800-634-1315. NMLS number 1136.
Hey travelers, do you want to save money on your next flight? Then pick up the phone and call. That's right, call, because the best prices are not online. They're with SmartFares. See, SmartFares has special deals with the airlines. When they have unsold seats, they use SmartFares to fill them. So you get airline tickets at ridiculously low prices. Our prices are too low to publish online. With the extra money you'll save, you can book another trip or treat yourself to dinner or shopping. So stop searching all of those travel sites to find the lowest price on your next flight. Let one of our SmartFares expert travel agents find ridiculously low prices for you. Call SmartFares today and get the best price on your next flight. Guaranteed. Also, save up to 50% off business and first class tickets.
800-871-3291. 800-871-3291. Again, that's 800-871-3291.
It is interesting to see how the subjects on Ashley's True Life show and current events so often correlate with past events. As Ashley says, history often repeats itself. Our ancestors' genealogy research comes across great stories from the past that tie to families and our shared history regarding what happens in our country and our community. The ancestors' clients have had ancestors that were colonizers, explorers, founders of religions, gunslingers, kings and queens, knights, pirates, heroic soldiers, witches, and witch hunters. Let's find out who the characters are in your family tree.
20 seconds.
So please reach out today by going to our website, www.dancestorsgenealogy.com. That's DANCESTORS genealogy.com, and fill out a contact request, and we'll get right back to you.
Get in here. You're listening to Perspectives with Ashley Burgess.
Welcome back live to Live Your True Life Perspectives, and I'm your host, Ashley Burgess. On today's show, we've been talking about the psychological games that people play. And right before the break, I talked about forever ammunition. It's a word that I've coined several years ago. Forever ammunition is different from ammunition because it's the same ammunition brought up over and over and over again, years and years later, to make you feel guilt and shame and to take you off target from what is being talked about or argued about and putting it back into your situation so that you become defensive, feel defensive, be on the defensive, and feel shame. Now I want to jump into the silent treatment. Okay, the silent treatment is a big one. Many of you are dealing with the silent treatment from a loved one, a family member, even a coworker or a boss. And it's interesting because the silent treatment is one of the worst types of control and manipulation because it controls the absolute way of communication. So basically, communication is null and void by one person. To me, that's not cool. Okay, to me, that's pretty challenging. And I've actually worked with clients who have been in households before where their significant other was using the silent treatment for sometimes up to a month long, where they didn't speak for an entire month. Dysfunctional at best. And it's interesting because the silent treatment is something that's used more often because, why? Okay, it's controlling. They control the communication. They literally make it where you can't communicate with them. And what happens, if any of you have been on the other side of this silent treatment, and I'm sure you have, is that you find yourself begging and pleading for the other person to talk. Am I right or am I right? Okay, where you're over there like, oh, come on, please just talk to me. Please talk to me. Let's just talk. Oh my God, I need to talk. And it's like, my God, you're begging for someone to talk to you. And that's exactly what they want. And what do? I'm not going to talk to you. I'm going to look right through you as if I'm looking at a wall. And the last thing that you want to do with the silent treatment is give in. The last thing you want to do is sit there and beg and plead for that person to talk to you, even though that's usually the choice. What I found is the best remedy to that in a situation is say, okay, when you're ready to be a decent person or you're ready to be an adult, let's have a conversation. Otherwise, I'm not begging and pleading to have any conversation with you. I've realized that when you take the wind out of their sail, because they've used this so much, and I found that silent treatment is something that's kind of handed down, right? From generation to generation. I mean, you would think it would be like a good wine, right? Instead of a good wine, it's some silent treatment malfunction, right? Who used to do this? Mom used to do this, or grandma used to do this, or grandfather used to do this, right? So you got to watch this play out. And so what do they use as their arsenal? I'm going to use the thing that mom used to use all the time on me, where she wouldn't speak to me for weeks when I do something bad. So I'm going to do that right now. And I always find that interesting because the silent treatment is one that's definitely passed down. And if you are dealing with someone that's giving you the silent treatment, while they are in full silent treatment, just say, hey, who did you learn this from? I'm interested. And by the way, I'm out of here. I'll talk to you later. But who taught you this? Because I'm interested in who you learned this dysfunction from. And you don't have to be that direct, but ask them, what family member do you remember giving you the silent treatment? Because unfortunately, this is a programming. Okay. And a lot of times people are on autopilot, right? So unfortunately, a lot of people are not mindful of what they're doing or why they're doing it. And sometimes just a little, hi, how you doing? I don't understand what's going on here is a good thing. But also the begging and pleading for someone to talk to you, stop. And I know that that's a tendency of ours. I know that many of us that are begging and pleading to get the other person to talk to them has learned this because you've probably dealt with this in your own life where a family member or friend has given you the silent treatment and you've dealt with that as well. When we return, we're going to be talking more about 2 more psychological games that people play. And these are significant games, okay? These are significant games. These are big-time games, and these are things that are played more often than not. And both of them are a little more undercover. Okay, so we're going to be talking about that. So stay tuned, okay? We got a long segment next. Live Your True Life Perspectives with your host, me, Ashley Burgess, will be back in. I'll be back this time, 2 shakes. Did you find the video?
I hope you've enjoyed my history and lore tales here on Ashley's True Life Show.
Do you have it in the list?
I know that there are many more amazing stories in your own family that we can discover in your tree. Hi, I'm Dan from Dancestors Genealogy.
Can I mute that?
We take the hard part of discovering your family's passed away from you by doing all of the research. You and your family end up with a beautifully bound heirloom book to view and enjoy. As a longtime genealogist, my staff and I know precisely where to look. We know what to look for and to preserve your story. So consultations with me are always free.
Right here?
Create your family heirloom book for Mother's Day, Father's Day, or next Christmas by talking
that's
with
just
me,
the headphone
Dan,
on my headphone. This is the mic.
Ancestors Genealogy. So please reach out today by going to our website, www.dancestorsgenealogy.com. That's DANCESTORS genealogy.com, and fill out a contact request, and we'll get right back to you.
USA Radio News. I'm Brad Bernards. Vice President Kamala Harris's office is reportedly making amends after she failed to push back against a college student who accused Israel of ethnic genocide during a question and answer session earlier this week.
Your perspective, your experience, your truth should not be suppressed, and it must be heard. The point that you are making about policies that relates to Middle East policy, foreign policy, we still have healthy debates in our country about what is the right path, and nobody's voice should be suppressed on that.
Harris's senior staff reached out to Democratic Majority for Israel in order to shore up relations with the pro-Israel organization, according to Politico. More U.S. air carriers, American Airlines, Alaska Airlines, and JetBlue have announced they will be requiring employees to be vaccinated against COVID-19. This is USA Radio News. Hey travelers, do you want to save money on your next flight? Then pick up the phone and call. That's right, call, because the best prices are not online. They're with SmartFares. See, SmartFares has special deals with the airlines. When they have unsold seats, they use SmartFares to fill them. So you get airline tickets at ridiculously low prices. Our prices are too low to publish online. With the extra money you'll save, you can book another trip, or treat yourself to dinner or shopping. So stop searching all of those travel sites to find the lowest price on your next flight. Let one of our SmartFares expert travel agents find ridiculously low prices for you. Call SmartFares today and get the best price on your next flight. Guaranteed. Also, save up to 50% off business and first class tickets.
800-871-3291. 800-871-3291. Again, that's 800-871-3291.
I hope you've enjoyed my history and lore tales here on Ashley's True Life Show. I know that there are many more amazing stories in your own family that we can discover in your tree. Hi, I'm Dan from Ancestors Genealogy. We take the hard part of discovering your family's passed away from you by doing all of the research. You and your family end up with a beautifully bound heirloom book to view and enjoy. As a longtime genealogist, my staff and I know precisely where to look. We know what to look for and to preserve your story. So consultations with me are always free. Create your family heirloom book for Mother's Day, Father's Day, or next Christmas by talking with me, Dan, at Ancestors Genealogy. So please reach out today by going to our website, www.dancestorsgenealogy.com. That's DANCESTORS genealogy.com, and fill out a contact request, and we'll get right back to you.
Hey travelers, do you want to save money on your next flight? Then pick up the phone and call. That's right, call, because the best prices are not online. They're with SmartFares. See, SmartFares has special deals with the airlines. When they have unsold seats, they use SmartFares to fill them. So you get airline tickets at ridiculously low prices. Our prices are too low to publish online. With the extra money you'll save, you can book another trip, or treat yourself to dinner or shopping. So stop searching all of those travel sites to find the lowest price on your next flight. Let one of our SmartFares expert travel agents find ridiculously low prices for you. Call SmartFares today and get the best price on your next flight. Guaranteed. Also, save up to 50% off business and first class tickets.
800-871-3291. 800-871-3291. Again, that's 800-871-3291.
Turn it up and jump in the deep end on Perspectives. Now, here's Ashley.
Welcome back live to Live Your True Life Perspectives, and I'm your host, Ashley Burgess. On today's show, we have been exploring the psychological games that people play. And I don't have time to talk about all the psychological games today because it would be one of those marathons, where you, like the Harry Potter marathons, where you watch all the movies all in like 2 days. We would be here, we'd be drinking water, lots of coffee, all kinds of stuff to be able to talk about these psychological games that people play. But it's definitely something that I want to really discuss. I want to put a lot of light and shine a lot of light on this concept because this is the stuff, these are the things, these are the tactics, these are the manipulative skills that people use to make us feel bad, to hurt our feelings, to control us, to make us feel guilt and shame. And you know what? It's just not necessary in our lives to have this type of stuff in our lives. I've realized that I only want certain things around me. I want to feel good. I want to have people around me that make me that I feel good around, and that they feel good around me. I don't. These games are just, they're games, and we need to be able to understand when they're being played on us. In the first segment, I was talking about the forever ammunition. Right before the break, I was discussing the silent treatment. And the silent treatment is very controlling, right? Because it's controlling the communication. It's controlling the communication right there. Literally, you can't get any type of closure. You can't get any type of communication. You can't do anything if one person's not speaking. I mean, really. But what I've seen, like I was speaking about earlier, is that that's a hand-me-down, right? It's a hand-me-down. A lot of times the silent treatment is a hand-me-down that was given from mom or dad or grandma or grandpa or aunt and uncle or somebody that they were around, and they learned it well, and they were able to decipher it and use it, and then they use it all the time. Some people use the silent treatment for an hour. Some people can use it for a day. Some people can use it for a week. Some people who aren't living with you can use it for a long time. There's folks out there that you might not have heard from in 6 months. I work with some clients who their kiddos decide that they're going to use the silent treatment, and they didn't realize that their kids were using the silent treatment as a tactic for manipulation. It's very interesting. And it's interesting, too, how one of us breaks down, how more often than not, the person that's not using the silent treatment breaks down to call, to communicate, to reach out, to go over to the house of the person who's been using the silent treatment. And what does that mean? That means you're guilty. Because remember, they're trying to see who breaks first. It's almost like that old thing. You remember when you were a kid in school, in elementary school, and you had to stare down and you had to stare in each other's eyes, and the first person to blink lost, right? The first person, you blinked, ha ha. Okay, but that's what's happening here, is the first person to break down. And it's usually not the person with the silent treatment, because they're good at this. This is part of their armor. This is their way of life. And so what I'm saying to you is that I don't want you to break down. I don't want you to be the one. If you're not creating the silent treatment and you're not starting it, I don't want you to be the one to go back and apologize. Oh, I'm so sorry. Can we talk this out? Because it's basically assuming that you're wrong. It's accepting the blame. And I'm not trying to say that we all have to be right and wrong. That is not what this show is about. It's not about that at all. But to me, it's a lie. Why is that a lie? Because if you say that you did something wrong or you apologize for something you didn't do, that to me is a lie. It's a lie. And it's like we can't have a relationship based on lies. If the other person's creating the silent treatment and it's their situation, I'm going to let them own it. Even if it's painful. Even if it's painful. And I would like to talk with them. Unfortunately, you got to step back and just let them go with it. Unfortunately, you just got to step back and let them go with it. I mean, I think that's part of it. Right? That's part of it. And it's hard because we have to break the programming. You have to begin to realize that, oh my God, here I go again. Okay, my whoever's doing it, usually I'm going to run back, or I'm going to apologize, or I'm going to beg them to talk to me. And this time, why is it that I want them to talk to me so bad? Why is it that I'm willing to put myself down to open this line of discussion? What is it within me that makes me want to have this discussion? Because to me, honestly, I've been there before. I remember a long time ago begging and pleading, that BS. And then eventually one day I started realizing, why is it that I care that we communicate? And why is it that I want to be the first one to apologize? And why am I programmed to feel that way? See, that's very interesting. Why am I programmed to feel that way? And I started waking up. And then I realized, and once I started waking up and I didn't placate the situation anymore, guess what? The silent treatment usually ended pretty quick. Because they weren't getting what they wanted out of it. There was no begging and pleading. I wasn't even around. I wasn't even around. It even got to the point where when they would call, I get around to it when I got to it. I'm not interested. I don't have time for your call right now. I'll call you back in a couple of days when I do. Because you've shown me that you can't be there for me. Why do I have to drop everything for you to find out what's going on in your head right now? Okay. But it took me a lot. It took me a lot to step back and say, okay, you know what? I've been putting myself down. I've been taking away from my value. I've been literally making myself the problematic situation instead of realizing that this is something that this other person has to deal with, and it's not something that I can change for them. But if I feel like I want to, and I feel like I want to make it better, why is it that I feel like that? What is it within me that makes me feel like I need to do that? The next thing that I want to jump into is victimhood. Yes, there's a lot of folks out there that are playing the victim all the time. They're good at it. Mm-hmm. They are so good at it. And some of them are so good at it, we don't even know they're doing it. Some of them are amazingly skilled. They are so skilled. And then some of them are just annoying, and we all know they're doing it. It's the total martyrism, and you're like, okay, if you tell me again about how you had to wash the dishes and how you had to clean the house again, I'm going to puke. But at the same time, the victimhood is very real. And what happens with victimhood is there's a lot of folks out there that don't take responsibility for anything that happens in their life. And they don't take responsibility for their choices, and they don't take responsibility for anything. And so somebody's got to get on the hook. Somebody's got to be the problematic situation. Somebody's got to be to blame. And usually what happens? The blame goes to us, right? The other person says, well, I would have done that, or I could have done that, but you did this. You made me feel like that. If it wasn't for you, I could have done this. If it wasn't for you acting like this, I could have done this. Okay. The victim reality is a very interesting situation, and it's used by a lot of people. And then the waterworks sometimes starts with some of these folks, right? Oh, gosh, they just start crying. And then what's our tendency? Oh, stop crying. I don't want you to cry. What can I do? What can I do? What can I do to make it better? Well, it's a temper tantrum in disguise. And what we fall with it because we don't like people crying. I don't like anger. I don't like, confrontation. Give it to them. It's almost like when you're going through the store and you got the kiddo, and you're walking around and the kiddo grabs something, like a stuffed animal or something you don't want to buy. And you're like, no, we're going to put that back here. And the kid starts crying and screaming and people are looking at you like you're abusing your child. Okay. And you're like embarrassed and you're freaking out and you're embarrassed and you're like, just take it, just shut up, just take it. Let's go. Okay. And we give in. And we give in because we're so embarrassed. We don't want to look like a bad parent. Well, you know what? That stuff continues in our life. We continue to be that person in our life. And we're like, oh, God, my wife. Oh, don't cry. Don't cry. Oh, don't do that. Our friends. Oh, stop crying. What can I do? What can I do to make this better? And they talk about how they can't do this or they can't do that or they can't have a job because they can't do this and they can't make that happen. Even though you and I both know people all over the planet that are working, some of these people, 3 jobs. But they can't get a job because, there's something wrong and they're the victim and their lives are falling apart. And it's all because of them being the victim and the world is against them. And we start believing that. And I find it interesting, too, how often many of us can have troubling childhoods, troubling upbringings, financially challenged upbringings. But then someone else can come to us with a sob story that's not even nearly as tough as your story, and you're over there trying to save the day. Okay. And I want you to think about it. The victim reality, a lot of times is there with, telling us how, they're the victim, that other people have done them wrong. Possibly we've done them wrong, possibly because of us, bad things have happened to them. Think about it's not their responsibility. The one thing you can garnish when somebody's playing the victim is that they don't ever take responsibility for anything that's ever happened in their life. Okay, for anything. And if we keep allowing them to take this reality, this step in their life, we are doing them not only a disservice, but we're also doing ourselves a disservice. Because, I don't want anybody around me that can't take responsibility for their actions. I don't want anybody around me that can't just step up to the plate and say, you know what? Yeah, I screwed up and I'm okay with that, but I'm going to do better. We've all screwed up. We've all made mistakes. We've all had things in our life that weren't perfect. We've all had things in our life that happened that we wish we probably could change. But most of us step up to the plate and own it. We own it. And yes, some of us did things because we came from childhoods that were challenging. But we tried to get back on our feet and we tried to make changes in our life. And see, that's the thing, is that when people make changes in their life and the changes are real and they last, I commend anybody. I'm not going to use forever ammunition on them to make them feel bad about what they came from. Okay. And the last one that I want to talk today about is entitlement. Entitlement and the put downs. Entitlement in its own is not really a psychological game. But when you couple the entitlement and the put downs together, we have a unified force. Okay. And let me explain what that looks like. A lot of folks out there in this world are entitled. They're entitled to the things that you have, the things that you've worked for, anything. a lot of times you might be married to this person that has entitlement. You might be in a family dynamic with a person that has entitlement. Everything that you have is theirs, and everything they have is theirs. Okay. And everything that you ever thought you wanted is theirs, and whatever title or whatever money or whatever career or whatever you have is theirs as well. Okay. And that in and of its own is entitlement. We've seen it lately. A lot of folks don't have that work ethic. Many people not working and entitled to their spouse's financial income, that sort of thing. But at the same point in time, there's these put downs. So you have the entitlement where the person is telling you like, hey, this is mine. They don't see the difference between you and them and what you have and what they have. But also they're going to put you down as to what you still haven't gotten yet. And what I mean by that is, so if you're working a job and you're working 6 days a week and you're making, let's say, $100,000 a year, and that's good money, and you're making that, they'll sit there and they'll take whatever they can out of that money, but then they'll turn around and tell you about how you're not making enough money and how you're not putting, you're not focusing, and how you're not doing good enough, and you're not successful enough, and there's something wrong with you, and you need to get this figured out. So not only are they not working, and not only do they take from what you have, and not only are they basically spending or doing whatever they want with that, they're also turning around and telling you that you need to be better, that you're not good enough, that you're not, and so it's like this double-edged thing, right? So it's like not only are they not doing anything, they're also telling you about what you're not doing as well. And at the same time, taking what you have and telling you about what you have is not good enough. This is always a very interesting dynamic, and I see it very often. It's like you're working your butt off, but apparently it's not good enough. And you could be doing more, and you could be focusing more, and you could be giving more to the family. You could be making more money. You could be doing this. Yes. And so if you're in this situation, I want you to start catching it, because a lot of times people go down a really tough road because they're overworked, they're overstressed, okay? They don't know what to do. They also start feeling guilt and shame because the other person with the put downs is making them feel bad because they're not making XYZ, or they don't have this title, or they haven't been able to buy this house. And once you do get these things, all of a sudden all these things become that person's things. And now you need to get more things. Okay. And I want us to think about it. It's not just the things, it's the entitlement. It's very interesting. And I want you to explore that, because a lot of times people can guise the entitlement with this type of put down. And the put down is devised to make you feel bad. But really, honestly, I think it's because the individual, even though they are not mindful or connected with their own life, they put us down for whatever reason, but it's a put down to make themselves feel better, right? There's a put down to make themselves feel better. And it's always interesting when you turn this dynamic around. And I've had clients where, they before they started working with me, they would go off and be like, well, when you finally get a job, let's talk about it. And usually that doesn't go over real well. There's techniques and ways of going around that makes a person think, and that pushes their buttons in ways that are not completely direct. Because what happens is when you say that, the person's going to throw up for every ammunition. The person's going to use the silent treatment, or they're going to turn around and use the victim reality. So when we return, we'll be talking more about that and ways that you can safeguard yourself. We got more left, so don't turn it. Don't turn the dial. Don't turn the dial. Stay tuned. Live your true life perspectives with your host, me, Ashley Burgess, will be back in. I'll be back this time. 2 shakes.
I hope you've enjoyed my history and lore tales here on Ashley's True Life Show. I know that there are many more amazing stories in your own family that we can discover in your tree. Hi, I'm Dan from Ancestors Genealogy. We take the hard part of discovering your family's passed away from you by doing all of the research. You and your family end up with a beautifully bound heirloom book to view and enjoy. As a longtime genealogist, my staff and I know precisely where to look. We know what to look for and to preserve your story. So consultations with me are always free. Create your family heirloom book for Mother's Day, Father's Day, or next Christmas by talking with me, Dan, at Ancestors Genealogy. So please reach out today by going to our website, www.dancestorsgenealogy.com. That's DANCESTORS genealogy.com, and fill out a contact request, and we'll get right back to you.
You've heard me talking about My Pillow for 3 years, folks. It's the truth. I get the best sleep of my life with a My Pillow. You can do it too. 60-day money-back guarantee, 10-year warranty, made in the USA. You'll sleep well or you'll get your money back. Go to mypillow.com, click on the radio listener special, use my promo code USA, get 2 My Pillow premium pillows for the price of one, or call 1-800-951-8175. Get the best sleep of your life and do it now. You've heard me talking about My Pillow for 3 years, folks. It's the truth. I get the best sleep of my life with a My Pillow. You can do it too. 60-day money-back guarantee, 10-year warranty, made in the USA. You'll sleep well or you'll get your money back. Go to mypillow.com, click on the radio listener special, use my promo code USA, get 2 My Pillow premium pillows for the price of one, or call 1-800-951-8175. Get the best sleep of your life and do it now.
It is interesting to see how the subjects on Ashley's True Life show and current events so often correlate with past events. As Ashley says, history often repeats itself. Our Dancestors genealogy research comes across great stories from the past that tie to families and our shared history regarding what happens in our country and our community. Dancestors clients have had ancestors that were colonizers, explorers, founders of religions, gunslingers, kings and queens, knights, pirates, heroic soldiers, witches, and witch hunters. Let's find out who the characters are in your family tree. So please reach out today by going to our website, www.dancestorsgenealogy.com. That's DANCESTORS genealogy.com, and fill out a contact request, and we'll get right back to you.
This is Jake Busey, and you're listening to Perspectives with Ashley Burgess.
Welcome back live to Live Your True Life Perspectives, and I'm your host, Ashley Burgess. On today's show, we've been talking about the psychological games that people play. We've been focusing specifically on forever ammunition, the silent treatment, victim reality, victimhood, and entitlement and putting you down. Mm-hmm. And it's been interesting, it's an interesting array of concepts that are used to basically manipulate and control. And I think that a lot of times it can be hard to spot. And the reason why it's hard to spot sometimes is that it's been happening your entire life. You didn't know what it was. You didn't know what was going on. You didn't know the definition for it. And it blindsides you. It's kind of like the concept when you've been surrounded your whole life with narcissistic folks, like people that really have a lot of signs of narcissism. And you're surrounded by that your whole life, and you have a tendency of what? You have a tendency of making friends with people who are extremely narcissistic. You have a tendency of dating people who are extremely narcissistic. And it seems comforting. It's almost like, and you don't realize they're narcissists. Like, it's not like you realize in the beginning that you were surrounded by like an entire tribe of narcissists, and then you meet more narcissists. The thing is that it's blindsided because you're used to it. You're accustomed to it. It's your normal. And then eventually one day you're like, wow, why is it that now I realize that these people have some of these tendencies? Why is it that I'm the narcissistic magnet? Well, it's because, there's that comfort in the discomfort. And much like the psychological games that people play, when you've been played your entire life with some of these games, when someone comes in and does the same thing, well, you go along with it, or you don't even see it, or it's a blind spot. And I find it interesting because people say, well, I don't know if that's true. Well, let me give you another example. If you've never had the silent treatment played on you and you've never experienced it, and you are in a relationship with somebody, and the next thing you know, you're having a discussion that you think is a joint discussion, and they just stop speaking completely and basically start looking through you, you would literally be like, what the heck is this? What planet are you on? What are you doing? It would be so weird and so out of the ordinary that you wouldn't understand how to interpret it. Okay. However, when we've been around it, we acquiesce, we try to figure it out. And so just a couple of things that I want to go over because I know we only have a couple of minutes left. One thing is that, people learn a lot of these behaviors and we learn a lot of behaviors of dealing with these things. Okay. And so I want us to start unlearning the learned behaviors. I want us to start connecting with the fact that, if we keep trying to defend ourselves for forever ammunition, stop. Catch it. You just got to start catching it. It's just, you can't do anything but catch it. I'm not telling you to turn around the tables and change the world all in one day. I'm just saying, catch it, see what it is, and work on stop defending yourself, realizing you don't have to. If you're with the silent treatment, if you're getting the silent treatment and you're over there begging for the person to speak, ask yourself, why am I doing this? Why am I putting myself down? Why am I sitting here in this house when I could be jogging or running or taking the dog out or going grocery shopping or whatever else? Why am I sitting here waiting for this person to talk to me? Okay, and wasting my precious moments of my life. If it's the victim reality, why do I keep letting this person off the hook? Why do I keep taking responsibility for their bonehead choices and bad ideas? Okay. Why do I keep allowing them to do this? And why do I keep giving them more to do it with? And last but not least, if it's the entitlement and the put downs, why do I feel like I have to provide for this person? Why do I feel like I have to give them everything? Why do I feel like everything that I work for this hard is for them? And have I really thought about the resentment and anger that might be festering underneath based on the fact that I don't really feel that way? But why did I get lulled into that? Was mom or dad a provider? Did mom or dad provide beyond their ability and means? Did one person not really push or not really do anything? And I'm kind of falling back into that same pattern. I just want you to start seeing the patterns and programs. If you haven't already, check out my YouTube channel. Go to YouTube and in the search engine, put Ashley Burgess. Burgess is spelled Berges. Ashley Burgess. You can go to my website, ashleyberges.com, ashleyburgess.com. You can check out the other website we have, the 10-Day Challenge, the number 10daychallenge.com. And, in the meantime, being true to yourself, catching these things, catching these concepts, understanding the manipulation, starting to see it, just seeing it for what it is a massive change from going through with it. It's a massive change to falling prey to it. That's all we're doing right now. And then there's a lot of things that we can do to change the cycle, change the pattern, and to get our power back. That's what this is all about. That's what Live Your True Life is all about, is finding your power, finding it maybe for the first time, and holding on to it. So stay tuned. Live Your True Life Perspectives with your host, me, Ashley Burgess, will be back in. I'll be back this time in 3 shakes.
It is interesting.
Great job, Chris. Thank you. I'm going to go on and thank Chris at the station. We've all been hit pretty hard with Fred's death. Everybody's pretty sad about it. Anyway, I just wanted to, I can take my headphones off. I just wanted to say hi to everybody that's here on the live feed. We're going to figure out some music. Obviously City Girl is a song that I actually produced in the studio with Jake Busey and Paul Butterfield's son, Lee Butterfield, and Adam Stackpole and Marshall and a couple other people. So we can definitely use some of that music since we own it. It was a band called the Sons of the Lawless, and they were great until, there was a band breakup, right? So we can definitely use that. But we can also find some other music that we can use too that, we can use any music we want on the radio because we're allowed to. We can use any music, doesn't matter what it is. We don't have to have rights to it. It's the way it is, right? But we can't use that on YouTube and Facebook and all that stuff, I don't think. So we're going to have to figure that out. George is here sitting on the couch with Buddy. So they are connecting here, which is good. Buddy is sleeping, actually. He's such a cutie. I just wanted to reach out to everybody that's watching live. We're going to figure that out. So it's going to be music or something. If not music, then we're going to figure out how to disconnect. The problem is that the satellite uplink, you don't want to have a chance that the satellite uplink doesn't work. You don't want to go to a break and something happened with the satellite uplink. So we're trying to figure out a way to mute the satellite uplink so you can't hear what's going on the radio, and we can talk during the commercials. Because I'm not making any money on these commercials, one. And two, I just don't think that you probably want to hear all those, but I also don't think that dead air is what you want to hear as well. I don't think we just want to have silence for 4 minutes. I think that's kind of boring too. So we're trying to figure that out. I know we did the silent one time and people were like, don't do that again. So we're not going to do that again, but we're trying to figure out a solution. Maybe it's like a Q&A as much as we can in between it and what we need to do. And maybe that might be the best thing. We're just trying to figure out how to facilitate that properly. So I just wanted to reach out to everybody, Zen and me. Great to see you. Thank you so much. I'm glad to have you here as always. Christina, great to have you here. I appreciate you reaching out and I appreciate y'all's comments too. This is great. Rockman, great to have you. Definitely glad to have you, listening to the live feed. Hopefully 222. I appreciate you coming in and watching the show and being a part of it. Julie, great to have you here. How are you doing? Tanya, great to have you. Glad to have you here. Let's see. Here's some of my comments. Thank you, George. It's funny. So George can post for me, but my posts come out as restream. Have you seen that?
Oh yeah, on the video.
I wonder why that is. So we're gonna figure that one out. Okay, we're going to figure that one out too. Crap. We got things we got to figure out, guys. We're going to figure it out. Mystique, great to have you here. How are you doing? Tay, thank you so much. I'm glad you were here. Para. I hope I'm saying it right. God bless. I hope I'm not butchering your name, but I do appreciate you, and I'm glad that you were here from Finland. We are glad to have you. Definitely want you to tune in as much as you can. Oren, great to have you. How are you doing, sweetheart? Dr. Marnie, always great to have you. Glad that you've been able to tune in. Rick, great to hear from you. Glad to see you. Definitely. And yes, definitely. Let's schedule a call for sure. Naz, great to see you. How are you? What's up? I like that. Renee, great to see you. How are you doing? Jane, I'm glad that you were searching and you found. NJNP, great to have you. Glad to have you here. Abby, great to have you here as well. Thank you for tuning in. Let's see. I wonder how to say your name. I wish I could say it better. Matus? How do you say that? Matus? Doesn't an entitlement go with power and balance? For example, parents can be entitled to some assets of the kids due to some sort of debt being abroad. Yes, I mean, it does definitely. Entitlement can definitely go with power and balance. It's like the idea of when somebody, they're okay to not do things, but yet the other person is doing it. So they feel entitled. But then I think it also deals with their insecurities, because it's amazing how when somebody does things for themselves or contributes, how that contribution directly helps them in their value. And it's a big deal. And I've seen some people that have been underutilized. I've seen people that have been undervalued. And once they begin to be valued in what they do, you see a total change in them, especially if they're willing to do the work. It's amazing, because when we're undervalued, or we're not working to the best of our ability, or not working to the best of our purpose, we definitely feel it within inside of ourselves, right? Darian, oh, you are so welcome. I'm so glad that you tuned in. Thank you so much for tuning in. Let's see. Oh, and I appreciate you for understanding about the commercials. Yeah, we're going to work on some, because I do have some products and stuff that I really want to talk about. It's not my products, but it's products that I like and things that I like that other people are doing. So eventually we're going to make sure that those are on the show and stuff, because I want to promote things that I really believe in. And things that I've seen make massive changes, whether it's in my life or other people's lives. Dr. Marnie, thank you so much. Changing the world and bringing such real awareness to many, one show at a time. I really appreciate you, sweetheart. Thank you so much for tuning in. Brenda, great to have you. Glad that you are here. Great to have you here watching it live. Diane, great to see you. How are you doing? It's been too long, lady. Mystique. Hey, I'm glad that you're doing all right and hanging in there. That's what matters. I'm here for you. Anna, great to see you. Anna, great to see you. How are you doing? It's great to have you here. Good to see you. We are here and glad to have you on the live feed, Darian. Great to have you. And everybody that's tuned in, thank you so much. Zenemy, NJMP, Renee, Rick. It's great to have everybody here. Christina, and that's the thing, is that we're just going to be talking more and more about some of these manipulations and the psychological games that people play. And once we can equip ourselves, Chicano, once we can, thank you for tuning in as well. I appreciate you. Once we can really kind of be able to safeguard ourselves and see the truth, we can begin to blossom. We can also begin to step up and stand up for what we believe in and stand up for ourselves. And that's what's so powerful. And once we can stand up for ourselves and do it in a way that we know we're doing the right thing, we feel good about it and we continue to do it. But we got to change some of that programming. With the forever ammunition, it's really kept connecting with the fact that, you're not guilty. You don't have to relive what happened 15 years ago. And most of you have done so much work on yourself and you've done so much of the hard work. It's about now looking for those old programs that just no longer serves us, and being able to step up to that plate and seeing those programs for what they are, and seeing how we interact, and seeing, okay, wait, now I'm interacting with this person giving me the silent treatment and I'm feeling like this. Why am I doing this? Oh, okay. I go back into the recesses of my brain and realize, oh yeah, mom used to do this to me, or dad used to do this to me. And this is why, and this is how I could get them to talk. Understanding those things are so powerful. Zenemy, didn't you have an intermission with palm trees or something at one point? Yeah, we did actually have that intermission with palm trees. Remember? Yeah, we did. We still have that somewhere. Was that on another platform?
No, this one.
It was this one?
I just need to load it up to the website.
So yes, Zenemy, thank you for reminding us. We do have that. We definitely do have that. Maybe we could shoot some cool footage. I don't know. Maybe, if we got really creative, we could shoot some cool footage during the week. Yeah. Anna, covert narcissism, arrogance is the worst one ever. It certainly is. That is definitely something that you don't want to deal with. It's definitely something that creates havoc in our lives until we realize what we're dealing with. Mystique, the games don't end when we leave. They go on to other forms of abuse, just as devastating. That's true. That's true. And it's like, how long do we want to deal with this? How much can we deal with this? How much more can we deal with the situation? And that's the key. It's like, what am I willing to deal with? I was on a session earlier before the show. And, this is not just in the family dynamic. It's not just in the marriage. This is also in work, and when somebody's playing a game on you, we got to figure out how to call it out. We also have to deal with that. And and that's, we got to be right on that. And that's where we have to be smart, and we have to figure out, okay, and if somebody doesn't see our value, are we wanting to stick in the relationship for them to see our value, or are we willing to let go and not worry if that person doesn't see our value? Because if that person doesn't see our value, they're probably never going to. And then on top of that, does it matter? But then we have to look at the programming, because back when we were young, right, we had a tendency of being programmed to believe that everybody should like us. And if one person doesn't like us, it's a problem. Remember back in elementary school when that one kid didn't like you, didn't want to talk to you, and you thought about that person every day and all day, like, God, I wish Joanna or I wish John would just be my friend. And you're just like overwhelmed by it. And it was almost like, you would think about it and lament over it. And that's the thing, is that happens in our adult life. Oh, I hope they can see my value, or I hope they understand me, or I hope they affirm me. And we're not thinking those exact words, but it's like we're trying to get them to like us, to be there for us. Chicano, it is hard for me to feel guilty when dealing with someone who I believe is being manipulated. I think I'm not very empathetic, though. And I wouldn't want to feel guilty when somebody's manipulating, but sometimes we are lulled into feeling guilty, right? Because that's happened to us our whole life, most of our life, where we felt that it was something that was kind of handed to us growing up. And if you can catch the manipulation and you haven't been programmed into that, you might not feel guilty. And that's actually probably a good thing. When somebody is manipulating you, the last thing you want to do is feel guilty. And that's the program that a lot of us are having to overcome, is that when somebody's manipulating us, sometimes we feel guilty because of what they're saying or doing, because it directly correlates to the situation and circumstances that we've lived. Zachary, I love your videos. I'll listen to it when I mow the lawn. I love that. I love it. I love it. Whether you're at the gym, you're mowing the lawn, you're raking leaves, you're having a beer. I'm just glad that you're listening, and I appreciate that. So thank you so much for letting me know on that, because that's awesome. And some folks are listening to the podcast while they're working out. I figured I'd bring Buddy up if we can. Can you bring Buddy? Let's get Buddy. Oh, here you go, Buddy. I think he's been sleeping. Oh my God. Oh, okay.
There he is.
Buddy wanted to come up and say hi. Yeah, he's been sleeping, but he's good. So he just wanted to say hi to everybody. We had a new little graphic that George made that was actually pretty cute. So we have that on Instagram. Hi. But yeah, but it's not a bad thing to not feel guilty when somebody's trying to hurt you. I think that's powerful. Brenda, let it go and walk away. You deserve better. Yes, and it's hard. Some of these relationships are hard. Sometimes it's, some of them are easier to walk away from. Some of them are more difficult. It could be a family member. It could be a parent. It could be a spouse. And so it's like, okay, how do we begin to safeguard ourselves, reprogram ourselves where their type of programming no longer hurts us as much as it did, get some emotional distance and try to work on that and see if that helps to make some changes in them with only by us making changes in ourselves. And then if that doesn't work, how much longer can you stay in the situation? And then eventually, does the situation get better, or is it time to move on? And those are questions that you have to ask yourself for sure. Interesting content. The human mind is a fascinating thing. Yes, Chicano, it really is. And it's interesting to know, exactly how our brain works and how we feel and then how others are. So we understand exactly the situation. Zenami, how's his foot? Buddy, how is your foot? Well, I think it's not really that great. We have a specialist. We're trying to wait on a specialist. He's feeling better. He's not limping as much as he was. I have a treat in my pocket. That's what this is. I have a treat in my pocket, and he can smell it. So that's what he's interested in. You'll get it in one. Here, that's what he wants. But yeah, his foot is actually, it's getting, oh, here you go. See, that was in my pocket. Okay, here you go. Right here. Okay. Yeah, his foot's okay. Unfortunately, I think we're going to have to go to a specialist and try to get that fixed. We don't know exactly what it is. He's on some medication that's supposed to help. We'll see. He seems to be walking better, and I appreciate you asking. Spuds McKenzie. Yes, it is. It is. Buddy, a little buddy. But he looks like he's doing better. He is. He could be doing better too, but we're gonna keep giving him some of this medication. He's not limping as much as he has been. Brenda, intermission with Buddy, yes. Mystique, 20 years of manipulation with a covert ASPD. He used my loving and forgiving nature to abuse me. He is still trying his hardest to do maximum damage to have me give up. And that's challenging. Yeah, and it's like we have to decide how much longer we're going to stay in something and how are we going to preserve ourselves, because we have this one life to live right now. And, the concern is that nobody's going to give us a Medal of Honor, when we pass away and say, well, you didn't live your life, but, you didn't get to live your life, or you didn't, you weren't able to be yourself, or you weren't able to have that freedom or peace of mind. And I want us all to live the life that we're really happy with and look back and see what we've done and be happy. So it's always an interesting situation. We want to be as happy as possible. We want to have as much peace and joy in our life. We got to figure out what's not bringing peace and joy within ourselves, and also what's not bringing peace and joy from outside of ourselves. Mystique, thank you so much. Yeah, he's a sweetheart. He hasn't really had many issues, but the only thing that this breed has is this: you got to be really careful, is they like to eat everything, anything, even stuff that's not edible. And then the foot thing just happened. He fell off he jumped off the bed wrong, and we've been having problems since then. But there's a lot of dogs that are really sweet, but they have so many health problems. You're so right. It's really challenging, and all dogs are great. I just posted the other day, a friend of mine rescued a dog, and it brought really good joyful tears to my eyes. So that was good. So anyway, Doug, thank you so much for tuning in. We appreciate you, for being a part. And, I don't know. I also want to do a show coming up at some point. about, there's so much bombarding us and so much stress in the world, and feeling bad for, animals and animal cruelty and child issues, and, all these things that are happening. How do we put it in perspective? How do we focus? Because sometimes you can be bombarded by it. It can be overwhelming. It can be stressful. And I'm just trying to figure out a way of how do we do that? How do we refocus and keep the heart and soul that we have, make the changes we can, and try to refocus on our lives? And that's something that I'm really going to focus on too, because I know that some of you are going through a lot of stress. I realize there's a lot in people's lives right now. I know that you can put on Facebook, and, there's some great stuff. There's also some really depressing stuff. I also feel like, I want to eventually have it where people are doing great things and highlighting that. So, we're going to start working on that as well. So we got some stuff up our sleeve, but you know how I don't like to talk about things until they're there, because if you talk about things before they're even started, it doesn't get done, or we just become talkers. So we got some stuff that we're working on, be able to have some additional content that maybe we can't always put up everywhere. So, and being able to really highlight some folks doing some great things. That's what's so powerful. So that's where we're at. So in the meantime, have a wonderful day. I appreciate everybody tuning in. And yes, toxicity is very harmful. You were so right. Thank you for tuning in. Buddy says hi. He's sitting here right now, and now he's going to get back on the couch. He's going to live his true life. So, we're going to be doing that. We'll be back if football does not get in the way of us. We will be back next Saturday, and then also we actually may be doing a live Q&A this week coming up. So I think we are going to do a live Q&A. So I think that would be. Let me get out the calendar. I know I have to use a digital and a physical calendar. Yeah, we'll probably do one. Thursday or Friday, but we'll figure that out. And definitely the radio show if we're not preempted. Thank y'all so much for tuning in. I appreciate y'all. If y'all have some ideas or thoughts for shows, want to connect, let me know. I'm right here and love to hear from you. And, any ideas that you have, if it's music, and I like the ideas in me. Thank you so much and thank you very much. All your stuff is excellent. I appreciate that. Jane, thank you so much as well. If y'all do have some ideas for that, if you prefer the Q&A, it may be in the middle, or maybe prefer just talking, or just shout outs during the commercials, or if music is preferable, I want to make sure that we choose properly. Okay, guys, I got to work with some clients now in 12 minutes. So have a great one. If you need anything, reach out. If you'd like to communicate with me, just go to ashleyburgess.com, click on that contact page, and it has like a form, and just fill it out and give the email that I can connect with you, and I will email you right back. I appreciate y'all. Have a great weekend. Take care. Much love and respect. Take care, guys. Bye.